SBN, Sports Business Now. SBN is a division of Row 27, the digital sports marketing company, celebrating 5 years of creating TV spots, intro videos, and microsites for over 150 teams. See our work at row27.com. And by FanMaker, digital marketing tools for sports teams, featuring FanMaker Rewards, the most comprehensive and popular fan loyalty and reward system. Learn more about our apps at fanmaker.com. SBN, Sports Business Now.
Hey sports fans, welcome to SBN Live episode 40. This is where sports marketing and technology meet. My name is Max Huber, your host of the show, joined today by our new contributor. She was here last week and really brings some class to the show instead of me. Katia, happy to have you here.
Glad to be here. I'm glad I'm back.
Glad to have you. She will be, like I said, joining us every week. And joined by our old friend Josh Duboff of the Sports Business Exchange. Josh, how are things out in New York?
They're great. Beautiful weather here. I hear it's not the same out there in Minneapolis, but we're enjoying it while it still lasts here in New York.
Yeah, well, it's 50 and rainy here, and Josh said it's 80 and sunny in New York, so I hope that our weather's moving your direction. We'll see. But we've got a good show today. We're going to start off just kind of get both of our contributors' thoughts on just the sports landscape. We've got the MLB postseason beginning. The NHL has dropped the puck. NBA starts their camps this week. And then we've also got the President's Cup in golf, along with locally. We've got the Twin Cities Marathon this weekend. Should be fun. The weather's going to be crappy, but people like to get out there and run. It's a beautiful race. And then next weekend, the Chicago Marathon. So from my perspective, glad that the MLB postseason is beginning. It's always a fun time to see all these fans coming out, especially teams like Pittsburgh. They're killing it right now, and it's fun to see what they're doing. Locally, we've got the Minnesota Wild dropping the puck tonight against the Kings, and it's just fun to see hockey back. I know it's only October, but it seems weird to have that. And then the NBA's right around the corner. So, Katia, what are you excited about right now at this time of the year?
I'm really excited about NBA being back. I'm a big basketball fan, getting excited for the Timberwolves to, again, we always get our hopes up, but, maybe this year with Flip being back, excited to have him back on board and back in his hometown. Otherwise, state of hockey, still love to see the Wild. Hopefully we can get it to the postseason this year with a full NFL season. Or NFL. Can I stop saying that?
NHL. It's all right.
I stopped saying
You
that.
talked about basketball. What about the local Minnesota Lynx WNBA finals?
Yes, that is, our winning team locally, and super excited for them to go battle in Atlanta. I know they're heading there. Their games here on Sunday, and then going over to Atlanta next weekend. So hoping to bring back the ring again.
Yeah, so it's exciting times for sports. What about out in New York, Josh? How are things out there? I know your football teams aren't doing as well as you'd like, but
I'm really most excited for the full marathon series. I know we just talked about this a little bit before the show started, but we got the Twin Cities Marathon going on this weekend, as you said. Next weekend is a Chicago Marathon, but also a huge weekend for half marathons all up and down the East Coast. You got the Boston half. I believe the Baltimore half is going on. I'll be up in Hartford for the last ING Hartford Marathon and half marathon races. So, and then in just a few weeks, we have the New York City Marathon, which was canceled last year because of the hurricane. And then right after that is, I believe, the Philadelphia Full Marathon and the Charlotte Marathon. So just the fall running season, it's still nice out. People are running all over New York City, gearing up for their respective races.
Yeah, it's you mentioned it's not even on our topics for today, but you mentioned the New York Marathon. This is ING's last year being with the New York Marathon. Josh, what are your thoughts? They're getting a company from India coming in there. It shouldn't change the day-to-day operations of the New York Marathon, but what are your thoughts on the sponsor change there?
Yeah, well, there's two thoughts there. The first one is that ING is leaving. They're also leaving their sponsorship with Miami and with Hartford. Like I said, the Miami one already ended earlier this year, but the Hartford sponsorship will end after their races next weekend, followed lastly by New York in November. Clearly, they have decided that the value that they got out of their sponsorship was good, but it was time to move on to something else. I know they have a big IMG Running Nation is a big platform for them, so it'll be interesting to see if that continues moving forward, or if they'll just decide that it's time to move on to something else. In terms of Tata Consultancy coming in, I have run a bunch of races up and down the East Coast, and they've been very involved in racing up in Boston, up and down here in New York for a while now, for a few years. So to see them come on as the sponsor, the title sponsor, is not that surprising. And hopefully they can provide some great assets to the runners. I'm excited about the partnership. The fact that they're in India doesn't mean much to me personally as a New York Runners member. I think the New York City Marathon is a global race, so a global sponsor just makes sense.
Yeah, it's cool to see. It's like you said, marathon season. So best of luck to you running in that New York City Marathon. It always looks like a beautiful one, and like you mentioned, last year canceled. Glad to have it back this year. But let's hop in to our first real story that we actually had planned. There's a new app called Spoiler Shield that looks to block all spoilers on your social media for your favorite sports teams and television shows. So how it works is, we're coming into the fall television season with NFL and the season finale, the series finale of Breaking Bad. Spoiler Shield is offering the ultimate protection. Many frustrated viewers, sports fans, and social media fans will now have a way to watch these broadcasts at their convenience and still check Facebook and Twitter without accidentally seeing the spoilers. It's an Apple product, and users juggling time-shifted broadcasts can enjoy the freedom to watch, read, DVR, and stream without worrying about learning all the important details. I don't know all the tech aspects of it, but it's very cool, especially for, like I mentioned, a series finale like Breaking Bad, or your favorite football team is playing, but you want to watch it but not know the outcome of the game. I think it's a great thing. I probably won't use it just because of the fact that if I hear the score, most of the time I don't care. But there are people that are really going to enjoy this. Katia, what are your thoughts about this first?
First of all, I can't believe that this app didn't exist beforehand, because people get so mad and so upset over Twitter and Facebook and all these posts about their favorite shows. I'm like, if you really were that concerned, why did you go on social media? That's the ultimate question, but I guess now here's the answer in Spoiler Shield, so I think it's a great opportunity.
Do you think that this is something that you would possibly use? You missed the Super Bowl because of some reason. You've got a date. Right. But you want to, who goes on dates on Super Bowl Sunday? But you want to watch it completely later on and not know would you think you'd use it?
Probably not. Because I think if you just want to watch the game, you're more looking for the plays, and if you're that invested in your team or your sport, then you're excited to watch the game and not just get the updates on Twitter about, oh my God, Adrian Peterson scored a touchdown. Like, not a big deal. So I don't think I'd use it. I'm not a big TV watcher besides sports anyway, so not even Breaking Bad. I wasn't that concerned when everyone was talking about it on Twitter.
So yeah, just your thoughts on Spoiler Shield, where you're able to block your Facebook and Twitter feeds about certain aspects, and do you think this is something that you would utilize?
I think it's an interesting concept. I'm curious to see whether or not be able to block all the tweets, or it just works on hashtags. Because if you don't mention certain words, how are they going to know what they're able to use? Or what they're supposed to be blocking. So I'm not sure how well it's going to work, but I'm interested to at least see if it does work.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. I'm sure that you could, maybe it lets you block certain users. So if you follow the Breaking Bad app or you follow the NFL app, maybe you can block those. But I'm not a big hashtag follower myself. I usually just follow the users. So it'd be interesting, and they don't really explain much in the story itself, but how it works and what they're able to block. So
right, can you actually block actual users? If someone is actually, if you just don't like their tweets and you don't want to unfollow them, can you?
Yeah. It's
shield them too.
It's interesting. So hopefully some more stories come out about it and really dive into that. But our next story involves Yahoo, and they acquire some mobile sports app makers. I'm a big Yahoo guy for fantasy sports, and I've got all their stuff on my phone. I don't use Yahoo for searching like Google or anything, but they do a great job with their fantasy sports and a lot of their mobile apps, and they've purchased HitPost, the maker of several popular mobile sports apps. They're behind the successful applications of sports bet and fantasy football polls. So this is just another step. I feel Yahoo is kind of getting themselves out of the search engine game. They're still involved in it, but they're trying to separate themselves from Google by going kind of a different route. Josh, we'll start with you. Any thoughts about this, and does it do anything to really boost Yahoo's profile?
I think it does. I mean, their fantasy football program is second to none. A ton of people use it. I've used it several times over the years playing fantasy football. So if these apps make updating your team or just tracking what's more easy and maybe more helpful to league owners or team owners, I should say, then I think it does help them a bit. It helps differentiate them from the ESPN or NFL or anyone else with a similar mobile application for fantasy football.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, especially with the sports bet, if you are able to, actually do some betting involved with your day-to-day fantasy football team during a game. If you could throw in a bet or check some polls on, hey, would you start this guy? I think, like you mentioned, it's great for Yahoo to see where they're going. Katia, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think it's great too. The mobile market is so saturated at this point, and there's really an opportunity for them to be top of mind with consumers as a brand in sports apps in general. So really, I think I'm not a huge app person. I love my particular apps, but again, it's really just hard to get top of mind and get heavy users at all the time because we're all so involved with so many things and don't have the time to explore new ones. So I think having Yahoo behind the brand is a great opportunity.
Yeah, and I think, a lot of people might not know the name HitPost. Now they're going to with the Yahoo brand behind it. So we'll move on to our next story. And Josh, I'm actually going to let you kind of take over on this one. This is actually from the Sports Business Exchange blog. You sent it to me earlier today. It's a great story. It's pretty cool. So take it away.
Yeah, so the other day, Team USA's Twitter account launched a new campaign for their Winter Olympics gearing up to Sochi. It was called the Raise Your Hands campaign with the hashtag Raise Your Hands. And basically what they're trying to do is get fans to purchase these mittens that say they have the USA team logo on them. It says Go USA on the mittens. And take pictures wherever they are throughout the country supporting Team USA and using the hashtag Raise Your Hands either on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or really wherever they do their social media. The campaign was launched using former Olympian Christy Yamaguchi, and they've already been showing a lot of current Olympians with the Go USA mittens. The campaign came out at the same time as Team USA's Media Summit. So they do have a lot of their athletes in and around the area right now so they can actually use them to promote the campaign.
I like it. I think it's a great idea. Josh, do you know if they're, and you might have mentioned this, but I might have just missed it, are they using this to raise funds for some of the athletes? Because with all these athletes, it's tough for a lot of them to get over there. Monetary-wise, it's huge. Is some of the money from this going towards the athletes?
Yes, it is going to support kind of all the work that Team USA does for the athletes to help them train and help bring them to the Olympics and everything that goes into that.
I like it. It gives people the opportunity to actually have something that they can hold in their hands, that they can put on their hands to support the Team USA. Katia, what are your thoughts on this? I think I just saw you ordering the gloves already.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, credit card out. I think it's great. I think it's really catchy. It goes with the Winter Olympic theme. I think the other great opportunity is the presence that you're going to see live when the games are actually in Sochi, and you'll see the mittens and everybody just supporting the team nationally or internationally. Sorry. And I just, again, like you mentioned, with the many of the Olympians not being able to have the funds to train, a lot of people forget about that they're not all the LeBron Jameses. They don't have these huge sponsorships. So it's great to see that the, smaller sports are getting support as well.
Yeah, very cool. Josh, I mean, any final thoughts on that before we move to the next story? And I'm glad that you were able to send that to us, and I encourage everyone to check out the sportsbusinessexchange.com.
I like it as well. it reminds me similarly to how soccer teams use scarves to support the team, and you show your scarf wherever you are. So maybe this is something that'll take off just past Sochi and for Winter Olympics moving forward.
Yeah, very cool. Very good comparison with the soccer scarves. Being a soccer scarves kind of nerd myself, I like it. And, maybe I need a new pair of gloves for the winter, and maybe I'll just buy these ones instead of something else. Next story is, everybody knows South by Southwest is a huge event down in Texas. It draws musicians, it draws film goers and everything. The South by Southwest Film Conference and Festival will add a sports-oriented component in next year's gathering in Texas, calling the new venture SX Sports. As part of the SX Sports programming, 538 blogger Nate Silver, who left the New York Times for ESPN in July, will be among the speakers at the festival, set to run March 7th through 9th in Austin. If you can get down there, I encourage you to. It's a great city. Other involved speakers include Bill Simmons, the editor-in-chief of Grantland. So South by Southwest, I feel like they know that sports is a big thing, and they're trying to increase their brand presence as well. I know that there was already some sports teams down there this last year, and now it's going to be an official part of it. Josh, I feel like you're buying your ticket to Austin right now and heading down there, but I feel like this is a great thing for both sports organizations and South by Southwest.
It does seem like a great partnership, and I'll agree with you on that. I will actually not be buying my ticket because the conference goes on at the same time as one of my favorite sporting events, which is the week leading up to March Madness. It's conference tournament week for the NCAA basketball, where there are conferences going on, tournaments going on all across the country. I spent the last several years either in Atlantic City or Brooklyn or New York City and Manhattan at MSG, watching those games rather than going to Austin. And that's what I plan on doing this year as well. So they may be missing out on a large portion of contributors because of that, the week before March Madness, and which also is the week of the conference tournaments. But a lot of the other sports are off at that time, so I think that they'll still get a large presence from the sports community and possibly some people who are interested in going in the past but may not have had a real work obligation reason to go. Maybe they can convince their boss to go now at this point and check out the whole conference, not just the sports section.
Yeah, very good point about the conference tournament. I just wonder how many hipsters are going to look at it and think that it's SXS Ports, and they think that it's a wine convention part for it. So, bad joke. Anyway, but good point about the conference tournaments. Didn't even think about that. A lot of people spend a lot of time and energy sitting on the couch watching these games, betting on them. So they might lose some people that way, but it might be a good mix as well for, like you mentioned, a lot of sports are off at that time to get them down there. Katia, thoughts on the whole South by Southwest sports?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great movement, and I also think it speaks to how sports business is growing so rapidly, not with just sports fans, but within the entire community. I think so many people that aren't even sports fans are really just looking for those intriguing stories and captivating stories with all the negative news that we experience on a daily. So I think it's a great opportunity, and really excited to see, what they talk about and what's going to be shown. And, maybe in years past, they're going to move it to a different week because of conference games. That makes a lot of sense.
What are your thoughts on, it's kind of already got it started with one kind of audience and it's grown and developed. Do you think that that's taking away from South by Southwest, or do you think that's adding to the allure of it?
Yeah, I think back to South by Southwest as the music festival, and that's what it's known for, really. And really, when it was on Real World, when they worked there, and that was kind of when it became popular, and it was more of an underground thing. So I think it's becoming more of a commercial thing now, which I'm not sure if the original fans are upset about, but I'd be interested to know.
Josh, what are your thoughts on that whole concept, especially being that, it is a different demographic and it's become a lot more commercialized than I'm sure a lot of people would like it to be?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Comic-Con is the same way now. I haven't been to that conference, but my understanding is that it's also grown considerably from where it started and it's branched out into new avenues. So what you may end up seeing is for both of those events, more niche startups trying to go back to the roots of where the conferences started.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see who shows up for that one and see how it goes. And it's probably great for South by Southwest. Expands their audience, brings them in more money. Our last story of the day, we've got the whole government shutdown going on, and nobody thought about it at first, but it is having an effect on sports. The U.S. Military Academy football teams will play as scheduled this weekend. There was talk about possibly having to cancel those games due to the shutdown, but a senior defense official said Wednesday the decision affects this weekend's games only. They will play, but future games will be evaluated as events unfold. So Army is going to be playing at Boston College, and Air Force takes on Navy. So you've got two military academies taking on each other, and then Army down at Boston College. I know that some major sponsors and airlines even stepped up. United said, hey, we'll get you guys there, whatever it takes. But to me, it's discouraging to see something like what's going on in D.C. affecting, these kids that are going out there. They're planning to serve their country, and maybe they just want to play some football. They just want to have some fun before that time, and there are always some great games: Air Force, Navy, Army, BC. So I'm glad that they will be playing at least for this week. We'll see what happens past this. Katia, just general thoughts on it.
Yeah, I'm really glad that they're able to play. I think so many people are being affected by this, and they forget about the local game. Definitely sports is one of the things that we never even thought that would be a factor. So I'm really curious to see what the leading weeks will be, because who knows where we'll be next week with the government shutdown, and these decisions could be changed too.
Yeah. Josh?
I'm in the minority here, I think, with a lot of my sports business colleagues, but I'm disappointed at how big of an issue this became this week, considering what else gets shut down when the government shuts down. It's at the end of the day, it's a college football game. Yes, there's a lot of money on the line, but there's a lot of money on the line for everybody else as well. And people are without jobs, and this is really just a fun event to do on a Saturday. That being said, just looking at it for what it is, the reason it wasn't shut down is because the games are being funded by non-governmental funds, money coming outside of the government. So that means the media rights coming from Learfield for Army, I believe, and then I believe it's IMG College for Navy. The CBS television contract for both Navy and Air Force are probably contributing to this as well. So it makes sense that they are going to be playing. It was probably too big of an issue to begin at the beginning of the week. But it is what it is, basically.
Yeah, Josh, I think you bring up a really good point, and we've seen it. We've seen it here in the Twin Cities, being a government center with St. Paul. There are much bigger issues than these football games. Obviously, being a sports fan, I want to see the games go on, but understand, just like you said, that there are a lot bigger issues and a lot more people that are affected by this. Tapering off of that, Josh, do you think that this whole government shutdown could have effect on other things just moving forward if it keeps going on? Are there other entities that, I don't know if there would be, but could it have an effect on it could have effect on ticket purchases for people, but beyond that, do you think that there could be another effect for everyone else?
It's hard to tell. It could be some security, potentially. Mm-hmm. I don't know if the Redskins have a home game this weekend. I don't know the whole schedule off the top of my head, but security in and around Washington or any major facility could have an effect on that. As we talked about earlier, Team USA and USOC is privately funded, so they're not affected, and I don't see why they would be moving forward. Other than that, I don't really know who else. There are other sports as well, not just football at the schools which are being affected, and there are. But besides that, I can't really think of anything in the sports world that would really be too affected.
Katia, any final thoughts on the whole thing? You and I both said, we're disappointed in that, but Josh, I think, trumped the hell out of us with what he said. Great point on what he said, but any final thoughts on this, or just anything moving forward with the program?
I just hope we figure everything out here. It's supposed to be something that's enjoyable and lighthearted, and it's kind of hard to see everything going down like this. So
yeah, you want to just worry about the football game. You don't want to worry about all the politics that's involved in it. I think that's where really it all comes down to it. But I want to thank both of you for joining us. We end on a pretty fun note there, talking politics and sports. We don't hear that every day on SBN Live. But once again, everybody, thanks for watching. Check us out on Twitter at SB Now or online at thesportsbusinessnow.com. Tune in next Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern, with an all-new edition of SBN Live. I'll be joined by Katia again. You can check her out at Twitter at Katia_Demitra, Demetra. And you can check out Josh at Joshua Duboff, Duboff on Twitter. And like I said, check out his website, thesportsbusinessexchange.com. Thanks and take care.
SBN Sports Business Now.